Welcome to 3D Movie Cinema, the only show that's 3 dimensions away from F1 being called Formula One. I'm your host 3D Jake, and today we're looking at F1, released in 2025. F1 is directed by Joseph Kosinski and is written by Aaron Kruger from a story by Aaron Kruger and Joseph Kosinski. The movie stars Brad Pitt, Damien Idris, Kerry Condon, Tobias Menzies, and Javier Bardem. The movie is essentially a movie about a washed-up race car Formula One driver who essentially just goes around driving off Formula cars and everything, just driving off stock cars, race cars, whatever, to try to make an ends meet and everything. And he's living in his car and everything. And so eventually, his old friend who he used to race with is now like the owner of this giant Formula One racing thing, and he's like, their company's broke. And so basically he's like, look, I need you to like really help me out here. And so he's like, okay, I'll race. And then he's going to like help him race and build up this other player to make the team, the racing look more valuable. And so basically he's basically like a hype man, essentially, where he essentially races, and Brad Pitt never intends to win. He just builds up, Damien Idris' character to make him look more presentable and like make them win, and everything. And so he essentially makes it look like the team, makes the players look better, makes them look more valuable and everything. And I must say, when I heard they were making this movie, I was worried. I was like, okay, what is it, like Days of Thunder, or is it like Top Gun Maverick, or is it like Ford v Ferrari? I was worried it was gonna be another cliche racing movie, but then the trailers were really good. I took my dad to see it. Me and my dad loved it. We're like worried it's just gonna be another generic racing movie and everything, but it's actually a really fun movie. Brad Pitt's great in the movie, and I really enjoyed the idea of it's not just it's a washed up racer who races and wins everything. No, it's not that at all. Instead, it's like in fact, there's a scene like Brad Pitt loses a lot in this movie where it's like but he does it on purpose, where he basically keeps like, oh, got a penalty, oh, got a penalty, oh, got a penalty. And then where that way Damson Idris could get in his car, get his car fixed up and everything. That way he can get up in this lead spot and everything, and then race it and win. And there is at one point in the movie, I really enjoy this movie a lot, okay? And there is one point in the movie where he gets into a car accident, Damson Idris, and they're about to win. And they get into a car, and Brad Pitt could have won the race if he wanted to, but he's not there to win. He is there to help Damson Idris win. And I think honestly that's one thing I think that's one thing that I really enjoy about this movie, that whenever you watch this movie, it's a really feel good story. It is a movie you could watch, and I really enjoy there's this woman from Better Call Saul. She's like the love interest of Brad Pitt, where she basically it's like one of the team managers, and so she basically is helping fix the car up and everything. Brad's like, I don't need a car to go fast, I need a car to do damage. And so basically they didn't fix this car up and modify his car to where basically when he gets a penalty, then of course it'll help him. He's just there to hype him up and everything. And I really enjoyed this film too. One thing that made me kind of fall back in my seat, was especially whenever Damson Idris gets into a car accident in the movie, and then the car just wrecks and everything, and Brad Pitt gets out of the car to check on him. I'm like, he dies? In the movie he dies? And everything. And I do like that, the character, but he doesn't, of course. And Brad, he heals himself. And I like that Brad Pitt, because he's sitting there just like a showboater and everything. He says, you can't showboat. He says, there's people still out there on the racetrack and everything. And I like that he's trying to turn him into a player to where at one point they're going to go to a club, and they're just like, I don't want to go to a club, I just want to sit here. And I think that's one thing that's unique about it, is he's not just trying to do press conferences and everything. He wants to sit there, and he's like, I don't even want to go to a press conference, I just want to focus, and I think that's something really unique. There is some minor criticisms I have with this movie. I did not like that they made Brad Pitt. I understand why now, as watching the whole movie, but at first I was like, why is he losing? He's supposed to be the number one. I want to see him race and win. And then you get to the end where I was expecting Damson Idris to win, and then of course he has car trouble, so Brad Pitt has to win the race. And I'm like, that felt to me so shoehorned in and forced. It felt like this is something that just happens in the movie, because it felt like Brad Pitt's like, I gotta win at least once, because he wins at the beginning of a NASCAR race. He's like, I gotta win this race. And I feel like they did that, and I hated that they did it. I was just like, come on, really? I do like this movie, though. I really do like it a lot. I do, like that, like the love interest, it builds up to, like, it builds up. It doesn't just feel like, oh, forced or natural. And I also feel like, they show these two players show a mutual respect for each other, racers that show this respect, where once he gets an accident, Brad Pitt takes the blame for it, even though it's Damson Idris's fault. And he even doesn't, says this guy's actually cares for you and he's looking out for you. He's not just there because at first Damson Idris thinks that Brad Pitt's there to basically, like, look better, and like, oh, he's there to make me, he's there because to make me look bad, and I'm, he's there to look like, he's the king and he's gonna win everything. When in reality, no, he's there actually just to win. He's just there to win. That's all. He's just there. He's just there to, like, make you win, actually. And so I think that was really cool. I also liked, there's Javier Bardem's great in the movie as the manager. And I do like that the twist is, like, at the end when they take Brad Pitt's car away. I didn't like that he crashed the car purposely and everything. And you find out, I do like that you find out that Brad Pitt has all these medical problems and that he shouldn't be, and he's about to go blind if he keeps doing this. But instead, like, Harvard, like, I can't have you, man. You're going to die out there. And so Brad Pitt, because he was in a car accident back in the 90s, that kind of ruined his career. And so he's like, hey, I got to do this. And so Brad Pitt then sneaks his way because, and then you find out that this one guy is just like, who's like the like one of the board members is like, hey, I'm going to sell the team, but I want you to come in and consult. And as for him, we're going to shit can him, but we're going to give him an advisory role and everything. And I just want you, and he's like, you were the ones that stuck the paper in for the car. Yeah, I was the one that, put the false paperwork in, that made the car, them pull the stock car, because I couldn't have us win, because if we lose, then we'll be able to sell the company for less, or sell the company, and it'll make me rich, and then you can be rich, and then we'll get rid of him. So Brad Pitt then comes in and tries to help him race and everything. Brad Pitt wins, which makes the value go up, and gets to keep, the team owner gets to keep the car, and then the board they'll renew his contract for another couple years, which means that board member does not get paid. He doesn't get to sell the company, make a lot of money, which I thought was really cool, and I like that. And I do kind of like it. Like, the whole movie is just meant to be, it's a hype movie. He's trying to hype this guy up, make him look better. That's why Brad Pitt never wins. He's trying to hype him up and make him look better, to make him the best player, and he does that. And I thought that was really great. And I honestly, people say that there might be a Days of Thunder, type of crossover, which I don't think I could see it, because I feel like Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise, I mean, they're both great players and everything, but I feel like, honestly, what would it be? Brad Pitt hyping up Tom Cruise, Also, I do like at the beginning of the NASCAR where he sits there and drives the NASCAR for a while, and then he says, do not screw up my place in this. And I thought that was great. And I do like at the end how he's just racing the truck at the end. I thought this was a well-done movie. I know there is a lot of similarities to Top Gun Maverick. It does feel like a lot like Top Gun Maverick in a way, but that's because this is made the same director, and it's the same writer and same composer from Top Gun Maverick. So, I mean, that makes sense. I really enjoyed this movie a lot. If I had to give this movie a grade, I'm going to give it an A+. Thank you so much.
Sharpton for president, y'all. I'm outie.
Jesse Jackson for VP.